Hey gang, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how to use triads for rhythm comping. Let's go. Okay, so the thing about comping is that, you know, if you're just kind of playing these bar chords behind somebody, that's cool. Sometimes you might be in a scenario where you're playing with another guitar player. When I'm in that scenario, I like to kind of listen to the way that person is approaching playing rhythm guitar, so I can hopefully figure out a way to not play exactly the same thing. Of course, it might be the same chords, but maybe just different versions, you know, different little shapes I can play to complement the other player. And a lot of times, maybe the other player is just playing maybe an eighth note kind of rhythm or something like that. And I don't want to play that exact same thing, so I want to kind of mix it up a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to look at the chord type that I'm playing over. So let's say, for example, we take an A7 chord. Okay, so A7, what I want to do is I want to figure out what is the origin of A7. Where did that chord come from? And if you harmonize a major scale, you get dominant seventh chords from the fifth degree. So really, even though I might only be playing this A7 chord, maybe I'm playing a little funky groove and it's just A7 forever, you know? Really, that chord originated from the key of D, because it's the 5 chord in the key of D. So if I took some triads from the key of D and played those over the top of an A7 chord, I would essentially be playing Mixolydian triads, right? Same thing. And then I can come up with a little part against that, okay? So I'll give you an example. I'm just going to play over kind of a static A7 chord, and I'm just going to play kind of up and down the harmonized D major scale using some different triads so you can see what the quality is, and then we'll refine it a little bit. All right, let's do it. Here's D, here's E, E minor, right? F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, C sharp diminished. Let me do it without talking now. Okay, the difference is, you know, I'm playing against an A chord, so even though I'm playing in the key of D, I want to resolve to A, so it kind of makes sense to the ear, okay? So, but I'm using information from the key of D, so I've got a D major triad here, then E minor. Now these are in first inversions. This is with the third in the bass, you know, so you play D here like this, and then you can play like that. So what you want to do is you want to go, okay, here's D major. I need a minor. Minor chords are on the 2, 3, and 6. And then I need a diminished version too for my 7 chord. So I kind of work out the shapes first and then run them up the scale. So I got D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, C sharp diminished. And if I put all those against A, it's like A Mixolydian triads, right? So the thing is that by playing, like let's say I take that D major scale and I play the same inversion up, by the time I play the whole scale, I'm way up here on the guitar, way kind of out of my original register. So what you can do is you can learn different ways of playing the same thing. So like let's say, for example, I was here and I wanted to play just like a couple chord comp, like something like A, D, and G. I have different shapes, so I'm playing the A with, this is a second inversion with the E in the bass, and the fifth in the bass. I'm playing the D as a first inversion with the third in the bass, and then the G is a root position with the root in the bass. So I can play. Something like that, right? Let's hear how that sounds. Cool. Now what I want to do is I want to be able to find those maybe in different inversions in case I want to change registers. So I can do it here. Here's A here. Here's D here. That's A is the root position, D is a second inversion, and then the G here I can play here as a first inversion. And then I could also do it here. I could do A here as a first inversion, D here, and then G here. So it's really just 3 chords, but I'm playing the different inversions of them. And that kind of gives me places to go. Maybe I start off down here, and if I'm listening, maybe it sounds too low. So I can go, okay, well, I can play the same thing. I like the part, but I just want to move it up to a different register. So instead of playing it here, I can play it here. Or here. All right, let's hear that. So really, I've got lots of options now, and that's just on this string group. I could kind of recalibrate the whole thing for this string group, or if I want to go lower, I could do it on this string group. So there's really a lot of ways that you can approach this. Now let's say, for example, you were playing in a blues, like a 12-bar blues. You go, okay, well, that works over the A chord, but what about when I go to the 4 chord, which would be maybe like D7 or D9? Well, technically, you've changed keys because now you've got another dominant chord, and that chord is the 5 of G. So you got your A7 chord, and you're thinking, oh, well, that A7 chord is coming from the key of D, as it's 5 chords. So that's where I'm getting my information from. But then when I go to my 4 chord in the blues, now my information has to come from G, right? Whew, okay, this is a lot of thinking, right? Well, not really. I mean, you can just look at shapes. So if I see A here and I go, so I can see that the A shape is kind of coming from that little G-shaped chord there. And now it becomes just a fingering. So now if I want to play it in D, I can play or E. Or if I was playing this one, here's the A here. So if I do it in D, right? Or if I was playing this one, for this I can. So it's really not that difficult. You don't have to like think of this whole new key. You just kind of think about shapes. So let's say I wanted to play through a 1-4-5, like a 12-bar blues using this technique. And I want to kind of stay around in this area because that's a register that seems to be working. So for the A, I'll play this shape. Okay. And then for the D, I'll play this shape. And then for the E, I'll play that. So they're all kind of right around the same area here. So let me bring up a little A blues backing track and see what that sounds like. So you see how I navigate that, right? I just see the different inversions. My whole goal here is to be able to stay in one position. And then I'm just using the shape so I don't have to do like some transposition, oh, what key is this chord in? What key is that chord in? I'm really just kind of using shapes that I've already worked out. This is a really cool way, and you can do this with, any style of music or any, mode. This was kind of like a blues or an A mixolydian kind of sound. You can do it with your Dorian mode. Just think of what key that Dorian is in. So if it's, let's say it's D Dorian, you're really in C, so you could use those triads to comp with. So this is a really great technique. Now, you know, honestly, we all love, if you're a guitar player, we all love here like shredding, and we all love working on our alternate picking and our sweeping and everything. It's fun, and you get good at it. It's, yeah, it's great. But the truth of the matter is, when you're out there in the real world playing, most of the time you're playing rhythm guitar. And the better rhythm guitar player you can be, the better you can accompaniment somebody, or the better part of a band, you know, you can make the band sound better. The more your phone's going to be ringing. That's the honest to God truth. Last thing people usually think about is how fast you can play. As a matter of fact, most of the time they don't want you to play fast. They just assume that you play some good soulful stuff. So learning this stuff kind of sets you up for more of that professional kind of playing vibe. So you know, even though it can be really fun to practice our scales and our modes and stuff, getting some rhythm playing ideas that are a little bit more sophisticated than banging around on bar chords or something like that can also put a little feather in your cap, and you might get a little bit more phone calls if you can make the band sound better, you know. So that's kind of my approach, and this is a pretty deep well. You can go pretty deep with this, but this is just kind of an introduction to this kind of technique. Anyway, always like, share, and subscribe. Remember, check out my Patreon page. I got all kinds of stuff going on there. Just loaded it up. It's preloaded with all kinds of great lessons, some basic stuff, and each month I'm going to be adding to it. So check that out, and I always appreciate the support, of course. It allows me to make more of these videos and spend more time doing this, sharing my knowledge. And please, you know, if you have any ideas of things you want to hear or talk about, say it in the comments. Give me some feedback, so I can always hopefully make these a little bit better. All right, until then, I'll see you next time. Cheers.